Hello everybody and welcome to LUTI tonight on the Splatoon Tourney Twitch channel. We have a double header coming your way. We have Intimidation Factor versus Spectra, followed by Sparkling Sea versus Ink Black. And on the mic tonight we have DRF and Astris. It's going to be a good one, so you guys take it away.
Glad that we are at least getting some form of Mincemeat Metalworks here as we do load into game one. And Asteria is taking a look at these comps. What is standing out to you?
Ooh, right off the bat, I'm seeing a lot of that Carbon Deco. Carbon Deco, one of the more popular weapons that I've been seeing as a result from this latest season. And mainly, we just haven't seen a lot of Carbon outside of, within Intimidation Factor as a whole, just simply because of the kit. But now that it has that Burst Bomb combo, we're really able to see that Carbon Deco really shine in a competitive scene.
Yeah, certainly, and just a lot of other new weapons that are going with this here as we do see that Tentatech coming out, the Forge Pro, the Pencil, all fantastic choices here that are still trying to find their way in the competitive scene, as Intimidation Factor will be the first team now to pick up this Rainmaker, and an excellent use of that Booyah Bomb coming from the machine on the side of Spectra. That's going to stop that Rainmaker before they could even reach that first checkpoint, and this push really isn't over though, as Intimidation Factor is still in control, and there goes that first checkpoint. Oh, my apologies, actually, that's going to be another stop just short.
Yeah, Intimidation Factor putting on the pressure early. Specials coming out and really pushing Spectra back. Right here, they're able to get a pop, but the Booyah Bomb, they're just able to get out in time and being able to continue this push. And they might be able to get to that last checkpoint, but no. The push is stopped just short.
Yeah, an excellent push though. Nonetheless, this push is most certainly over though, as Spectra will pick up this Rainmaker and start their march back towards neutral, trying to put a lot of this green paint down. And they certainly have an uphill battle ahead of them, as 21 remaining. That is a very strong push on Mincemeat Metalworks, as this is one of those maps where Rainmaker sometimes just won't even get past the first checkpoint.
You're absolutely correct. Just looking at the Rainmaker path in particular, getting to the checkpoint is a pretty simple task, but getting it past that point is a completely separate story, particularly on that right alley, that right route. Just the enemy team is just able to counter the Rainmaker, but a great push by the Spectra, and this could be what they needed to get back into this match.
Oh, most certainly, and it all stemmed from that Rainmaker getting some huge picks there. And now the march is on to try and close this gap. 44 points remaining, but it's Arwen that's going to be coming in, and that's going to be an excellent shutdown there. The third person going down on the side of Spectra, and the Splash being the last one standing, going to have to back up here. But the Forge Pro actually going to be jumping in there, making a very aggressive play, and trying to make something happen. They're going to keep a lot of paint just beyond neutral here, which is going to allow them now to pick up this Rainmaker and start yet another push. So they haven't quite fully given up their position. They've backed up just enough to maintain a strong, aggressive spot that will really keep this push going and give them another shot here.
Yeah, you look at how this match has been going. Despite the fact that Intimidation Factor has managed to push it all the way to 21, up until right now, it had looked like Spectra had been dominating the whole match just simply because of that pain output. But as we see right now, it looks like things are trying to swing back into the favor of Intimidation Factor.
And really all they need to do at this point is maintain a defensive hold, which is what it seems like they are doing, as the Inkvac's going to be coming out here. A couple of members of Spectra trying to make this difficult and to shut down Scrub on that Tentabrella, but no one's able to do so. Finally, the Brella is going to go down. That Rainmaker is probably going to time out here. Spectra gonna ensure that happens. It'll reset to mid, and they're gonna be looking to get some of this green paint back down in mid, getting geared up for one more possible push in these closing 40 seconds.
Spectra, there is really going to have to get their foot on the gas really quick. Only 30 seconds remaining, and they have a long way to go.
Yeah,
And
they
frankly,
certainly do.
And frankly, they need to be able to also get the specials as well. They only have one online, and it's just a Tacticooler from the Snipe Rider. So not only do they have to get the paint output, they also need to pick up this Rainmaker really soon and get all the way up to point 20 if they want to win this match.
Booyah Bomb and Crab coming out. 10 seconds to go on the clock. That's going to be the T-Tech going down, but the Forge Pro going down in exchange. So this Rainmaker will have to be picked up, and they get it right in the nick of time. 2 members down on the side of Spectra, and they're backing this Rainmaker up, and they are not in a great position here to make an overtime push. Members are jumping in. They are maintaining their life here, which is their greatest asset in this game. And finally, their teammates are starting to get into position here. The Carbon Roll is going to be shut down, and now the Rainmaker is going to go ahead and drop and start swinging this towards the right-hand side. Going to start approaching that first checkpoint. The second member of Intimidation Factor going down, and this is going to be the last stand. Here is the third pick. The Wavebreaker going to try slow things down. No, that's going to be the wipeout, and Spectra will come from behind in game 1.
Wow, like, could you even have expected something like that? Just from how the last 30 seconds, the game state at the last 30 seconds.
Wow.
They didn't have at the time they didn't have the specials. They didn't have the paint, but Spectra just really banding together in the last moments, getting the picks they needed, getting those specials that they needed to get that push, and getting the wipeout, and that put Spectra up 1-0.
I mean, and getting a great instant replay here, and you're exactly right. It really seemed like Spectra was going nowhere fast in this game, particularly in overtime, I should say. They did an excellent job of getting that first push all the way to 42 remaining, but overtime was looking very grim for them as they were 2 down, and Intimidation Factor just needed to play a little bit patient and work their way towards the Rainmaker, or wait for the Rainmaker to fall into their laps to get the pick. But taking a look here, it's a full-on team effort as they are taking 1-for-2s each and every time in this push that leads them to the wipeout, and the last 2 members just marched their way to victory.
Expect that Carbon to just be flying all throughout this place. It's an absolute playground for them.
Oh, I wholly anticipate that as well. Taking a look at the compositions, not a whole lot is actually changing here. We are seeing a lot of those key weapons coming back that we had previously mentioned, the Carbon Deco, as well as that T-Tech. I believe the Custom Junior might be the only adjustment here. And oh man, already early on, the bloodbath that you were talking about, Asterius, really starting to take place here.
Absolutely. This is exactly how you want to play this map. Get at them early, make them make the first move, get that two-person advantage, and just immediately start pushing into their base and just make them not able to move at all. And right now, this is exactly how you want to start out if you're Spectra.
And it's 66 remaining on the first push. Excellent job indeed, as they are going to allow that zone to change over, but quickly get it back here, working through that penalty. But with that machine going down, that's going to allow the zone to flip it back into Intimidation Factor's favor. But Spectra really not going anywhere still. They are maintaining just a massive pressure here, and this zone constantly having at least just a little bit of purple ink on it, as Intimidation Factor finally stepping up here to apply the pressure themselves, and now they're going to get the lead and now find themselves in that favorable position of just watching the plats. And if you are in Spectra at this point, you really need to be careful with that Carbon Deco, because they're in the exact position they want to be in.
Yeah, I think what happened is they got a little bit too antsy trying to get back into the zone. They didn't have the numbers, and there were just too many people in that right court, and it just allowed Intimidation Factor to just get right back into it.
Oh, but taking a look at this, though, it's Spectra back in control of the zone. They have a couple specials at the ready. The Tacticooler coming out, and now That's the machine that's going to try to find themselves in that exact position that the Carbon was in. But these specials from Intimidation Factor that are trying to counter this push are going to at least slow things down just a little bit, but they're not going to be able to find the picks that they need. Instead, they go down to themselves, as the Forge Pro is also going to go down, and it's going to be down to this T-Tech to try to paint the zone. They do get it to neutral. Teammates coming in now to try to secure this one before Spectra can to get the lead, and they will do it, tacking on a 36-point penalty, and this game continues to be back and forth.
This Tenebrella trying to wreak some havoc into their base, and they're able to do so, getting the splash, taking out a potential crab in the way, and the Carbon. This is exactly the position you want if you're a Carbon player, being able to just wreak havoc on those ledges, make them not want to drop on the zone, and frankly, Intimidation Factor has really woken up in this game.
Oh, they certainly have, and it's all being led by Scrub on the tent with this huge flank, and they managed to get a nice triple there, and now are stalling this out just long enough for Intimidation Factor to secure the knockout and even to set at 1 game apiece.
Intimidation Factor did not let game 1 affect them too much. They just said, okay, let's just take it one step at a time. Let's just get right back into it and just do what we do best. And that is just get at them early and capitalize on key mistakes and just hold them in a place and just never let them up. And that is what allowed them to even the series at 1.
Yeah. And, you know, they did such a good job there of really trying to get into those key positions. The Carbon Deco is what we thought was going to, you know, be the absolute key here. And I think they played their position very well. But ultimately, it was Scrub with the 10 that completely surprised the entire roster of Spectra with this flank on the tent. And then here, this ink vac really is what seals the deal, as that's going to prevent a lot of ink output from Spectra just long enough for the knockout to be.
I think that lends itself to being a great Clam Blitz map in general.
Yeah, it certainly is. And, you know, I love that there is technically a few different options to pushing in, but there is one sort of main option, you know, as you really don't want to go across the grates unless you have to. But the option is there nonetheless, and sometimes you can see some teams making some really sneaky plays, especially if we can get someone like the Carbon on the side of Intimidation Factor into those positions. Meanwhile, so, like Spectra, you know, you could try to get the splash, or, well, yeah, maybe the splash with the crab could also try to take command of these grates. But early on, we are going to see a couple of 1-for-1s here, but look at Spectra. They are already getting swarmed by Intimidation Factor.
Yeah, this is exactly what we were talking about earlier. Get that Tenebrella in the base. Just simply the amount of offensive pressure from a defensive weapon as a whole. They're able to just get right up onto you with that huge shield that they have, and just being able to just wreak havoc while keeping themselves protected.
And that is going to be the Carbon Deco with a beautiful pick there. The tent and the Carbon trying to play these walls very carefully to try to surprise any members of Spectra that happen to fall into their laps. But no, that's going to be 3 down on the side of Intimidation Factor. A huge takedown by Spectra, and the push is on. The first power clamp going in, and they have quite a bit of a bank here to follow up with. And they're going to pile them in slowly, though. A very wise decision to try to extend this push as their teammates go and try to secure more clams. 10 in their pockets to work with, and if they could get all these in, that is going to be huge for this opening push.
Yeah, the main thing about staggering your clams, you want to make sure that the enemy's basket, is open as long as you can, because the more time that you're on the offense, the less time the opponent is on the offense. So being able to just keep their basket open forces them to stay where their basket is, and not being able to get back into mid, not being able to get specials or paint the map or get clams. And that is really a great decision by Spectra.
But Intimidation Factor now trying to do the same here as we now see Arwen here underneath the basket of Spectra, trying to hunt down this machine, and will do so. Possibly looking for a second pick here, but no, it looks like they're going to go ahead and retreat for the time being. 9 clams to their team's name, trying to pass it around, finally going to get that power clam in, but they only have 1 clam to follow up with. Definitely, possibly, you know, a little bit of a missed opportunity to try to get some more clams as they had the numbers advantage, but able to finally get a couple more in there. But I think this push is just about over as they have to retreat due to a lack of clams on the field right now.
It's a shame too, because they had so many specials at their disposal. They had the bubbler to keep them protected to get more clams in. They had the crab tank, which is so good at just keeping enemy opponents away. And oh my, wow.
Oh,
it's a complete annihilation from the carbon roller, and that can swing things back into favor of Intimidation Factor as another score comes in, and the lead has now changed. It's in the favor of Intimidation Factor.
I think they heard that, you know, we were definitely a little bit disappointed by that first push, and now they come in with the second push big time, bringing it all the way to 38 remaining and another 3-down situation here in their favor. Intimidation Factor bringing the aggression, and they are holding strong underneath the basket of Spectra. They unfortunately let that basket close, but they still hold this position, which is going to be huge if they're able to regather the clams and hold this long enough to build up just another power clam.
The amount of paint that Intimidation Factor has is staggering right now. They're not able to get... They can't even get out of their side right now. They're practically in a lockout scenario. And frankly, if you're... And now Spectra looks like they're able to finally get out of their side and can try to finally get back onto offense as we're nearing the end of this match.
And it looks like with that 2 down that they got on Intimidation Factor, that is what's going to sort of flip the tide here just a little bit, enough to get them back into mid. And they're going to get one more opportunity at a push here in the closing 30 seconds. That's going to be 2 down to Splash and Carbon Deco, both going down there. And they have 16 clams to work with, so this could be a huge push if they can just get this power clam underneath the basket. And with this machine moving on up, this is going to be a huge opportunity for them now, but that's going to be 2 down, and they are going to have an overtime opportunity, but not much time to work with.
I think the special coordination at the last moment was just a bit off. They definitely were in a good position to try to be able to get back into this overtime setting. But we do have a super jump to try to get in, but no! A perfectly timed splat bomb. Something that you rarely see trying to capitalize on that super jump strategy in Clam Blitz. And that potentially saved the game for Intimidation Factor, finally going up 2-1.
Yeah, that splat bomb really did save the day for Intimidation Factor, as I think Spectra, they had the clam economy on their side in the closing minute there, which would have given them the lead should they have been able to pile a majority of those in. So a huge stop indeed. I think, you know, Spectra might have tried to be a little bit too aggressive to try to get in there, but at the same time, time was running out. So you really just needed to try to make the play happen. So, you know, I do agree that I think with the special or 2 that they had online there, you know, they definitely could have coordinated those just a tad better, and they possibly could have gotten the lead here late in the game. But it just was a little bit out of sync, just enough to where Intimidation Factor was able to hold on.
It's a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of scenario.
Basically,
because on one hand, you can try to just wait and just try to coordinate those specials, but you could be giving time to the opponents to try to just get back in and try to counter that strategy poorly. And if you don't, and simply you just have to know what is that good plan.
Well, that is going to be Intimidation Factor getting game number 3. They go up 2-1 in this set. And now we are going to be taking a look at game 4, Eel Tail Alley Tower Control. And this is one of those map modes that really is momentum based. I think it's probably one of the most momentum based combinations in this game. So we're going to have to really see which team takes control early on, because that's going to dictate the way this match goes.
This map has a giant notoriety and just being one that just spirals out of control if you're not careful enough. The map itself is one of the longest lengthwise in the game. Your spawns are so far away from mid, and if you go like 2, 3, or even 4 down, that is enough for a team to get a checkpoint, maybe even 2 if you're not even careful.
Grabs coming out here, trying to establish a little bit of that early control, and it seems like we're getting 1 downs on either side as it comes through here. But it's exactly as you said, is that you don't want to go 2, 3, or even 4 down, because that's how you lose the game, and that can happen as early as 30 seconds in. But speaking of, it looks like Intimidation Factor actually gonna try to make a move with this tower, but they do find themselves going 2 down as a result. But luckily able to take down 1 member of Spectra, so that will go ahead and slow things down a little bit. But now it's going to be Spectra fighting themselves 2 down, and this could be the spiral that we were talking about, as Intimidation Factor is already starting to move up big time, and they're going to take control of this tower, finding yet another 3 down situation here, and the first checkpoint is going to be falling.
Yeah, this is exactly what I was talking about. This map does lend itself to just spiraling out of control, and Spectra almost let it happen, but it looks like they might be able to salvage it, but they're starting to run out of time as Intimidation Factor gets to that last checkpoint, but is not able to clear it.
And that's going to be the tower working its way towards a reset. And now this is going to be an opportunity for Spectra to get back into things, as they will start, looking for possibly a couple of picks here. They have a couple specials online. Looks like they go ahead and let them go. But no, it's not going to be able to find anything, as now this tower is right back where it started, and this push is back on.
Yeah, this is not what you want to see if you're Spectra. You do not want to try to be the hero here, because right in that alley, you're right into the hands of a shot. You're right in the hands of a carbon that is just ready to just annihilate you if you're just not careful enough. You can't just be giving them these opportunities to just take you out of the match and just get you in such a way that just allows just frankly, a complete domination, if I'm being honest. And Intimidation Factor gets up to a very comfortable 3-1 lead.
Yeah, and 3-1 is a really nice spot to be in here, as we take a look at the instant replay. And this, a couple of really big picks here. A little bit of a delayed pick there as the machine releases its Booyah Bomb. But taking a look at that bubbler coming out, the triple ink strike, well coordinated to disperse the members of Spectra. And that's going to ultimately tumble this into a 3-down situation. And that allows Intimidation Factor to get a nice clean look at this checkpoint and just simply ride it all the way to victory.
Yeah, simply put, when you're facing against a carbon roller, despite the fact that the carbon roller is going to be just constantly on you and just bombarding you with a never-relenting flow of offense, you have to play against it so patiently. You have to wait for it to make the first move before you try to engage on it, because otherwise it's just going to just completely delete you from the game. And unfortunately, I don't think Spectra try to play around that carbon roller enough, and the game just spirals out of control for them and just completely gets away from them.
We lost the early fight, and that's really what caused us to lose that one. But we need to now just refocus, get our heads back in the game here, and things are going to be a lot different now for Rainmaker on Museum de Alfonsino, as the pace for this one is definitely not like anything like tower control on Eeltail Alley.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the, I don't want to say slower maps to play Rainmaker on, but it's definitely one where you have to be a lot more careful on. Just simply because you just if the plat is taken up by the opponents, which unfortunately was not what happened here, you have to just play around the side very carefully. But Intimidation Factor getting off to a great start, being able to make the jump to the first checkpoint, and can try to even go for the knockout early if they're able.
Yeah, definitely making us eat our words here about the pace of play for this map mode, as Intimidation Factor in the opening 45 seconds is able to take this all the way to 24 points remaining. And this is one of those map modes that just, this doesn't happen. And now it's 11 remaining as Spectra is scrambling to remove the members of Intimidation Factor from their base. It looks like there was an additional shark there, finally able to get everyone out. And Spectra now has 4 minutes to climb this mountain that has been established early on by Intimidation Factor. But hey, they've come from behind before. They can certainly give it a go again here.
You're absolutely right, DRF. They have to play this so carefully. They cannot give Intimidation Factor those constant openings that they have throughout the entire set. They just have to think back to how they played that Rainmaker game on game 1 and just play it oh so patiently and try to get back into this before the set gets completely out of their control.
Booyah Bomb gonna be coming out here, and that's not really gonna be able to find anybody. It's a lot of yellow ink on the map for Intimidation Factor, as Spectra finally able to get that carbon deco down and forcing a couple of the members back. So Spectra gonna pick up this Rainmaker now and be on the board with their first points. To Tentabrella from Scrub trying to make a nice move here, utilizing that shield, and it looks like the Rainmaker is not aware of their presence, and that's gonna be an excellent shark and pick by Scrub, and a wipeout to cap it off, and Intimidation Factor already getting back onto the plat of Spectra.
Intimidation Factor is in a great setting right now. Unfortunately, it looks like as though, unfortunately, it looks like Intimidation Factor's push may get cut a little bit short, but they were in a great position getting that wipeout and then getting all the way up and onto their plat and just try to push Spectra back and getting them back into how things were in the first minute. And Intimidation Factor, despite getting up to 11 points remaining on that Rainmaker counter, they are not letting up in the slightest.
Yeah, and if I honestly was Spectra there, I would have just let that Rainmaker do a complete reset. I believe they actually got the pick there, but the timer was ticking down, and they could have just let the Rainmaker explode, but opted for the pick instead there, and now it's going to be sitting in a slightly unfavorable position in that Rainmaker free zone. So now that's they're gonna have to get the pop with their backs almost towards the enemy base, able to finally do so, and trying to utilize these specials to slowly move up. Who is going to be picking up this Rainmaker and starting to move forward? It looks like it's ultimately going to be I forgot which 25th, yeah, on the end zap. So that's going to be who picks up this Rainmaker here. The other members starting to move up slowly, very cautiously here, but Scrub with that Tentabrella is just going to continue to make things difficult, as now it looks like they're going to try to switch things up and take the jump here, but no, they're just going to miss out on that, and they're trying to get to this first checkpoint, but the spinner just not doing them any favors at this time, and now they're just going to have to hold forward and pray for the best. They'll get up to the pedestal, but not getting the checkpoint.
I absolutely love that ink vac from Scrub. He basically just denied them that spinner jump that's so characteristic on Museum Rainmaker, and it buyed Intimidation Factor the time to get the picks on Spectra and forcing the Rainmaker to just make a desperate jump to the plat and just ultimately fall to the hands of Intimidation Factor.
And Spectra starting to run out of time here with 15 seconds to go. They're coming back from a 3-down situation. The Splash trying to hold their position here and starting to make a move. Not a whole lot of paint for them to work with on the ground, but they're doing everything they can to try to get a couple of late picks here. But no, it's not going to be any good, and nobody is near this Rainmaker, as it's Intimidation Factor who picks it up and runs away to secure game number 5.
Intimidation Factor Intimidation Factor just showed that game 1 was. Would you dare say that it was a fluke even? Because
no.
Frankly, Intimidation Factor just not affected at all from game 1, and Spectra almost seem like they're almost out of answers at the moment. And frankly, they just need to figure out like how they treated game 1 and move that forward as they get into a desperate play or die game 6.
Yeah, I never like to say that anything is a fluke. I do think that Spectra executed exactly what they needed to in that first game. So I don't think that that's necessarily a fair analysis in reference to Spectra there, because they've been in these games still. However, I think it would be more fair to say that Intimidation Factor has picked up steam and really started to figure out some of their earlier faults and have corrected them. They've done a better job of correcting those early mistakes and figuring out exactly how to specifically counter Spectra. And that's the reason now that we see them up 4-1 in this set. And they've just been so dominant in these last 2 games. And it's really, they just have figured it out faster.
Throughout the entire set.
I absolutely agree there. I think that Scrub really has to be the focus for Spectra here, because Scrub has been making the biggest plays so far for Intimidation Factor. And if they can figure out Scrub, I think the rest of the team might be able to crumble underneath that. So Spectra with their last stand here, and they're going to go ahead and try to take the approach early on of trying to beat Intimidation Factor to the punch by securing the zone very quickly, but it's going to be 2 down on either side, and we see an absolute bloodbath in this zone.
I absolutely love the Tetris pick on the side of Spectra, trying to match the offense of the Carbon Roller, and the Tetris with that extra mobility can get around that 10 umbrella shield to try to get at the hands of Scrub and try to just keep them at bay.
Certainly. And now, though, it's Intimidation Factor that is starting to work their way around the corner here and at the base of the ramp of Spectra. The triple ink strike coming out now, and this could be a full-on lockout as the Nautilus is going down and the Carbon getting a nice pick there, looking for more. 2 down on the side of Spectra, and this is their last stand. They have one more opportunity to get in here to neutralize this zone. The triple ink strike going to be coming out. That's going to be enough to neutralize the zone and push around a couple of the members of Intimidation Factor. But with 10 ticks left on the clock, this might be it. Spectra needs to flip this zone, and they need to do it now. That's going to be the shark the shark that comes in with the explosion, and that's going to be enough to flip this zone, and Spectra buys themselves another couple minutes.
That was very much key to their survival. And if you're Spectra, you're breathing a huge sigh of relief right now. You don't even have to be able to just hold on to the zone for very long. Just the fact that you're able to capture the zone for just a little bit allows you to just calm down and rethink some of your strategy. You now have so much more time at your disposal, and it would be great to just be able to take advantage of that.
A lot of time indeed, as there was a 72-point penalty slapped onto Intimidation Factor. And now Spectra, with a couple of big picks here, are starting to reflect what Intimidation Factor had them locked into early on, and now they are starting to move up, getting a couple of nice picks here. The Tetras with a double, that's going to be 3 down. The Tetras with the triple, and suddenly Spectra is back in this game as their penalty points have finished, and now they aim to close this gap as much as possible, possibly securing the knockout and extending this set. 30 ticks to go.
They potentially reawakened inside themselves. Just the offense that we're seeing on the side of Spectra, they look to show that they're not out of this quite yet.
But it's Scrub that comes in with a huge clutch jump and pops out the tent to secure their life. And now they're popping out the ink vac as well, trying to hold on to the zone in neutral. But it's not going to be any good as Spectra takes the lead, and they will extend this set by securing game number 6.
This was everything you wanted to see. For Spectra, just from frankly, just within the first minute and a half, they're down to like what 20 ticks, 10 ticks, and looking to go out on a somewhat disappointing 5-1 deficit. But now Spectra has flipped the switch for all sorts of momentum, and now if you're on the side of Intimidation Factor, you have to wonder, are you starting to sweat a little bit now?
You know, when you are up like this in a set, it's definitely a little bit tough because you know, you're riding this momentum and suddenly it comes to a screeching halt, especially being as close as they were with 4 points remaining before the knockout, and Spectra was able to flip the tide of this game and secure the knockout themselves. So yeah, you're definitely sweating just a little bit. However, the pressure shouldn't be on you. You have 3 games to win 1, where Spectra needs to be perfect throughout the rest of these 3 games as well. You know what you're capable of if you're Intimidation Factor and how you've put yourself in this position in this set at game point. So you definitely just need to take it one at a time. You can't be worried about, oh shoot, you know, we're looking at tower control Hagglefish as the following game. You know, we don't want to get there. Like, you can't think about that. You need to be focused on the here and the now, and that's Clamblit's Inkblot Art Academy and what you can do to put this set away.
A lot more confident than you were in the last couple of games.
Yes, most certainly. I mean, things were starting to look pretty grim there for Spectra, as now they suddenly find themselves with a little bit of life here as we enter game number 7, Clamblit's Inkblot Art Academy. Taking a look at our compositions here, T-Tex coming out on either side. The Tetras really found a lot of life in that last game, and they will definitely be making a return. And if you're the Tetras right now on the side of Spectra, you really just got to continue to play as confident as you did in that last game.
Absolutely. Just being able to just match the offense is what Tetris just love to do. They just love to just get in on the opposing enemy side and just make their lives miserable. And that's just how Spectra just wants to be able to do. They want to play off of that offense so much.
And early on, it seems like a Intimidation Factor doing what they do best, and that's trying to get into the enemy base early, as we are going to see 2 down on either side. Scrub utilizing their tent shield to try to maintain some position here, but they just didn't have the clams to make it happen there. So a little bit maybe too aggressive, that, you know, with just not enough time to get a push going. So now things are going to really reset now, as both of these teams inched their way back towards mid, and a pretty nice even paint divide in the center of this map.
Yeah, it looked like on the side of Intimidation Factor, they just not only just trying to go in a little bit too early, but also just a little bit too forward. If I'm being real, just they had the entire set just been able to just get onto the enemy base and just cause them so much trouble. But I think they might have been a little bit too overconfident, and either that or the fact that Spectra is now just being able to prepare themselves for that style of play that Intimidation Factor has set themselves up for. And if I'm being honest, we may see a great side of just great counterplay from Spectra, and just being able to come back into this match.
And Intimidation Factor, though, is going to get this early score now, the first score of the game, about halfway through this match, and they're going to get about halfway through their scoreboard as well. 54 points remaining is where this push will end. But Scrub trying to stay alive here, a couple more clams coming in as well, so bringing it to 45 remaining, and that's where this push will stop. And now Spectra back in a familiar position of playing from behind in the second half of a game, and they've done it twice before. They've got to start getting comfortable with this spot now, as this is exactly, you know, the spot that they're gonna have to play once more to take the lead and extend this set a game more.
If I'm an Intimidation Factor here, I do not want to try to do too much here. I say this as immediately Spectra goes 3 down, but if you're Intimidation Factor, you have such a comfortable lead in this game. All you really need to do is just keep Spectra at bay like you had in the previous games, and this game is as good as yours.
Oh, and the Tetras with a huge double there, but going to get shut down. A 2-for-1 opportunity there, as now it's going to be Arwen with the T-Tech able to surprise Spectra and getting a huge double when Spectra was getting geared up for a push, make it a triple. And that is going to bring Spectra's hopes of a counter push to an end, as now there's a minute left and Spectra picking up the pieces from a huge opportunity. And now it's Intimidation Factor that's going to be responding with a push of their own. They are not satisfied with 45 remaining. They want to add on more because they have lost bigger leads in this set and nothing can be too comfortable for them right now.
Absolutely. Intimidation Factor, just reminding them of that pace of play that we've talked about earlier, and just showing them that, yeah, sure, you got us in the previous game, but that doesn't mean you got us completely. And right now, Intimidation Factor just showing that dominance that we've seen the entire set, as Intimidation Factor takes the set 5-2 over Spectra.
Wow. And I mean, it seemed like Intimidation Factor was very stealthy with that push. They definitely came in very aggressive, in your face, and was like, hey, we're here, we're not satisfied with this lead, so let's pop open the basket and make you squirm a little bit. But then suddenly, it seemed like when every time the push was over, they were 3 down at one point. That push was still going. That scoreboard was ticking down bit by bit. So there was just people constantly sharking and jumping in with clams. Absolutely insane there to secure the knockout, and definitely Founder Groove once again was not phased by dropping that previous game.
It's sort of a nightmare scenario when you play Clam Blitz. Just, you think that you've cleared out your own plat and you're ready to push out, and then all of a sudden you just hear those ticks. You hear clams start being put in, and you just start to panic. You're wondering, where on earth are they coming from? And that's exactly how you want to play this style of mode. You want to make them uncomfortable. You want to make them just question everything about where your opponents are and how you want to keep them at.
Yeah, most certainly. So that is going to be the set in favor of Intimidation Factor, 5-2. So an excellent job there by both of these teams. Spectra did such a good job. But let's go ahead and swing it back over to Falco.
Yeah, hey guys, what a great set. You know, it's great that Spectra were able to get some wins there at the very beginning and keeping the set alive in Game 6. They had an amazing comeback during that first game. Intimidation Factor getting that 4 in a row, making it so difficult to try and respond, and just being really dominant in Clam Blitz. They've just kept that pressure open the entire time. So congratulations to Intimidation Factor for winning the set. We have one more set coming your way. We are going to be having Sparkling Sea versus Black Ink. That will be happening in about 5 minutes. But right now, we're going to do a slight commentator switch, get everybody settled into the lobby. Astris, thank you for joining us on our first episode of LUTI Tonight. Where can we find you?
Thank you, Falco. For anyone that's interested, you can follow me on Twitter at AsteriusBW. And I occasionally stream on Twitch, even though I haven't recently, on twitch.tv/AsteriusBW. I'll be looking to get into more of Splatoon streaming really soon. And yeah, I hope to see anyone there.
All right.
And thank you guys for having me.
Oh, our pleasure. Thanks for being here. DRF, you're going to stay on the line. We're going to be having Sapphire be joining you very shortly. But before that, we will take a quick break. Be right back.